सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। प्रणम्य रामाभिधमात्मधीपदम् जगत्प्रसूतिस्थितिसंयमायनम् तदात्मकान् शङ्करपूर्वकान् गुरून् मयोपदेशार्थविभाग उच्यते। So from the previous discussion, it was concluded tasmat kenachit upadhyana kvachit kvachit tatha tatha vyavahara aspadattvena avidyavasad bhasamanopi atma. Avidyavasad of ignorance, atma appearing. Kenachit upadhyana, appearing not because of its nature, but because of some adjunct, like upadhi, some limiting adjunct. Like a crystal appears to be red, blue, etc. So the Atma appears to be karta, bhokta, pramata, etc. Kvachit kvachit tatha tatha vyavahara aspadattvena. So every so often Atma becomes the locus of all this vyavahara. What is vyavahara? Karta, bhokta, sukhi, dukhi, etc. Vidyavasa bhasamanopi. Because of ignorance, Atma says bhokta, dukhi. Swarupadaha. So the whole thing is, even though Atma appears to be karta, bhokta, pramata, dukhi, even though Atma experiences Swarupata, all of that is because of upadhi, meaning that it is not the nature of Atma, it is something else that creates this kind of appearance in Atma. Swarupata, nirvikara, nirdharmaka. But in her nature, it is free from all vikara. So kartrutvam is a vikara. Kartrutvam, bhoktrutvam, nanitvam is nothing but the attribute of Atma which shows vikara or change. Nirvikara, free from all vikara or change, modification, nirdharmaka, they were all the attributes, asangaha, totally unconnected, kutastha, changeless is Atma. Etat sarvam viparetya uktamartham prashna uttapya upasamharati. So even though all of this was not stated so clearly in the text, Vipretya, this was what was in mind of the author. Uktamartham upasamharate. All that is just read. The teacher here, the author, concludes, Prashna Uttapya. Having raised a question on the part of the disciple, the conclusion is this, that how Atma is Kutastha. So Shishya Uvacha, Katham tarhi Kutasthe mai ashesha svavishaya chitta prasaropalubdhritva vidyata. If you said, I am the conscious changeless, then, so Anandagiri says, Yadi avikriyatvat atmanabhishtam kutasthatvam, without any change or modification, that what is desired is each, because inherently Atma is devoid of any change or modification. Tarhi tasya ashesha chitta prachara upalabdhitvam tvaya uktam. So on one hand, sir, you said that Atma is changeless. Ashesha chitta prachara upalabdhitvam. Upalabdhritvam Atma is the perceiver of Ashesha Chitta Prachara, all the modifications of mind. So on one hand you say that Atma is Kutastha or changeless. On the other hand you say that Atma is the perceiver of all the thoughts. Katham yuktam. How can both of these things go together? How can Atma be changeless on one hand and also perceiver of simultaneous perceiver of all the thought modifications? Kriya parena upalabdhritva siddheti. So even though Atma is not upalabdha or perceiver like sense organs of the mind, which can perceive only one thing at a time and limited, that Atma perceives everything at the time, all the aspects of a thing. Nevertheless, we said Atma is upalabdha, Atma is perceiver nevertheless. So how can Atma be perceiver without undergoing some change? When what Atma perceives goes through all the changes, the chitta prachara, the mind keeps going through the changes every moment. Atma is the perceiver of a mind such as that. How can Atma be changeless? Iti Shankate, the disciple, doubted. Katham tarhi kutasena tu mai ashesha swavisha chitta prachara upalabdhritvam vidyata. Sir, what you are proving to me is Atma is nirvikara, kutastha, changeless. But earlier also it was said that Atma is a perceiver of all the thoughts simultaneously. How can these two things go together? Being changeless on one hand and a perceiver of all the modifications of thoughts on the other hand, how can these two go together? So you said, he says, so Upalabdha, you told me that Atma is the Upalabdha, the perceiver of all the thought modifications simultaneously, while also you are saying that Atma is Kutastha or changeless. Tam Guru Raha Satyameva Vacham. When I say that Atma is changeless, the same time the pursuer of all the thoughts, I said correctly? Meaning that being the pursuer of all the thoughts doesn't require any change in the part of Atma. Teneva kutasthatam abruvamitava. If Atma was a pursuer like sense organs, which perceive one thing at a time, or the mind which also perceives one thing at a time, may perceivers that we are familiar with are those perceivers which undergo sympathetic change with reference to what is perceived. The Atma is a perceiver of a different class. Perceiver that we are familiar with is the perceiver the sense organs are. Perceiver the mind is. It is true that they could not be perceivers without undergoing a sympathetic change with reference to what is perceived. But I said that Atma perceives not one thing at a time, not one aspect at a time, it perceives everything simultaneously. I said that, in fact, to convey that Atma is kutastha, changes. So that is the reason I gave. The reason for the kutasthatvam, changelessness of the Atma, was that Atma is simultaneously the pursuer of all the thought modifications. Tenaiva. But that very statement, that Atma is the pursuer of all the thought modifications, kutasthatam abruvam. By saying that, in fact, I conveyed the changelessness of Atma. However, so that he tenaiva asteta swavisha chitta palabhritvena tenaiva, because of that, because of what? That Atma is the perceiver of all the thought modifications. That was the reason presented by me as a hetu, that Atma is changing. Ata kuta tatra tavanashvaso jayate iti abhipraya. Then what's the reason why anashvasa? Still you are not convinced that Atma is changeless, so you don't seem to be convinced. Even though I presented to you the reason being changeless, perceive thought modifications, which I presented to you as a reason for changeless Atma. You are making that as an issue and concluding that Atma is changeless. Kuta, for what reason? Tava tatra, with reference to the changelessness of the Atma, tava anashvaso jayate, still there is a doubt in your mind. Iti. So continuing now. So Guru say, Nityopalabdhi svabhasya atmana vikriya antaranya. That when we say that Atma is perceiver of all the thought modifications there, the word perceiver is only in a secondary sense. Perceiver is necessarily an entity that is called a perceiver. To say that Atma perceives all the modifications simultaneously, that releases the Atma from the perceiverness, upalabdhritvam. And therefore, if you use the word upalabdha or perceiver Atma, it has to be understood only in a secondary sense. So that's what now what's your problem? Says Atmana upacharat upalabdhrutva siddhe upannam tasya kutastatvam sthitam yaditarahi. Alright? So now I understand that Atma is the perceiver only upacharat in a secondary sense. If Atma was perceiver in a primary sense, it would be changing entity. But as though he is a perceiver, and so I understand that he is kutastha, changeless. Tasya tarhi tasya vastutah samsaramando na siddhyati. In that case, there cannot be samsara bandha. That cannot be bondage called samsara for Atma if he is not a perceiver. Avikriyatvat. Atma is avikriya, free from vikriya, free from change, and therefore there should not be samsara. If Atma is like this, that it is changeless and not affected by the what is perceived, then there cannot be samsara of the Atma. So now next question, how come I experience samsara? If there cannot be samsara for Atma who is kutastha or changeless, how can there be some experience of samsara? Or if you look at our Tika, Atmanaha Nitya Nivritta Ashesha Swagata Visheshataya Kutastatve Avabodhite Avabuddha Swarupaha Shishya Sabhranti Bijam Pashyan Pruchadi Yadi Evamiti. Nitya Nivritta Ashesha Swagat Vishesha. There is no Vishesha in Atma inherently. Nitya Vritta is devoid, so Atma is devoid of all the Vishesas all the time. Sattva avabodhite, sir, by that you now enlighten me with reference to the Kuta Sattvam, the changeless Atma. Avabuddha Swarupa Shishya. So Shishya is now seeing Avabuddha. He is enlightened with reference to his nature that I am changeless consciousness. So Bhranti be. If it is so that I thought I was changing, why did I think that I was Karta Bhokta? Why did I think that I was something? That's another question. So that thought of the Karta Bhokta, and because my inherent is changelessness, and therefore to think that I am a doer, meaning thinking that I am changing, was a Bhranti, was a delusion about myself. I can. But why should the Atma, what's the reason the Atma who is changeless inherently, should think that he is changing? So what's the reason for that Bhranti? Yadi evamati. So next passage says, Yadi evam bhagavan kutastha nityopalabdhi swarupe mai Shabdadi akara Bodha pratyeshu cha Matswarupa Upalabdhi Avasa Phalavasana vatsu Utpadyamaneshu Kastu Aparadho mama. Yadi evam bhagavan. Oh, Venerable Sir, if this is so, Kutastha Nitya Upalabdhi Swarupe Mai. Who am I? I am the changeless perceiver. So I am perceiver Swarupa. So Nitya Kutastha Nitya. eternally changeless perceiver is my nature, meaning that there is no perceiverness really in me, that I am called a perceiver only in a secondary sense, and that explains kartrutva, bhoktrutva, all of this is not because of me, because of something else. Kartrutva, bhoktrutva obtains elsewhere in the upadhi, that is superimposed. I understood everything now. Mai shabdadi akara baud. So mai, who am I? I am the kutastha nitya upalabdhi swarupa. I am the changeless perceiver consciousness on one hand. Shabdadi akara bauddha pratyeshu cha. And Shabdadi akara. The Bauddha pratyaya, it is a modification of buddhi of the mind, which is Shabda, which is sound and touch and taste. All of these are nothing but the pratyas, cognitions, which are in the states of mind. It's clear. So, pratyeshu cha mat swarupa upalabdhi avasa phalavasanavatsu. So what are those pratyas? What are those cognitions? So cognition of shabda, sound, sparsha, touch, etc. They possess the reflection of myself. That I am so mat swarupa upalabdhi. Upalabdhi or perception of consciousness, which is my swarupa, the nature. Avasa phalavasanavatsu. So they are all possessed of the reflection of me, who is changeless consciousness, and therefore I am not the perceiver, and I am perceiver only because I get reflected in those thoughts. But there is no perceiverness inherently in me. If this is so, kastu aparadam. But why does this happen then? What is my fault? If I get reflected in all these modifications of mind, and then therefore, what is my fault in that? What am I doing? Why does it happen to me? I am a samsari. So, Bhranti, Swabhranti Bijamapashyan. How come what is happening with reference to buddhi is a reflected consciousness, which was taken to be myself? What happened is that consciousness or Atma reflected in the buddhi or the pratyas was taken to be the self, and pratyas, they are subject to coming and going. Every pratyaya arises and subsides. And Chidabhasa, the reflected consciousness, also arises and subsides. If that is taken to be my sarupa nature, then I also am subject to constantly arise GadyaVibhag, Tirobhava. Now I realize that that is not so. That is not my sarupa, that is not action. And there were changes taking place in the mind. And changes taking place in reflected consciousness do not belong to me, they do not affect me. In that way, in spite of all those changes taking place in the buddhi and the chidavasa, I remain changeless. Then kastu aparadha, then what is my aparadha that I got deluded, then I was a samsara? Why did I think like that? The Tika says, so either we can interpret this question of the disciple in wondering what happened then. Why did I think that I was a samsari? That I was a karta, bhokta? Why did that happen? That kartrutva, bhoktrutva, all of that belonged to the mind. They were all different states of mind which arose on account of some activity in sense organs, in prana, etc., etc. And clearly they were all the states of mind, and my role was that I got reflected in them, and therefore they were all illumined by reflected consciousness, and that's how vyavahara happened. Then why did I think that I am a karta bhokta? Either that is a question, or the Tika says, athava bauddha pratyayas upalabdhyavasa phalavasana jayante tada tan atmane nityam pashyato mama ko aparadha ityakshipade yadi evam iti. So either this is a question or it is an akshepa. Questioning, how come? Athava, the interpretation of passage can be Bauddha pratyaha chet upalabdhi abhasa phalavasana jayante. That every thought that arises in the buddhi automatically receives the reflection of consciousness, meaning a thought cannot arise without the reflected consciousness. So buddhi upalabdhi abhasa phalavasana jayante. All the pratyas, the cognitions, the thoughts of the mind arise with reflected consciousness. Tada tan atmani nityam pashyatah. When I look on them as myself, so what is happening is that a thought arises in the mind which is illumined, reflected by, enlivened by reflected consciousness. If I take them to be myself, tan atmani nityam pashyata, I think that kartrutva belongs to buddhi, I take it to be in myself. Mamako, what is my fault in that? So, first of all, why did this happen to me? Or what is my fault that I looked upon myself as karta bhokta? Just to conclude, all of this is said earlier, just to conclude. So Dika says, Prashnasya uttaram aha satyam nasti aparadha ide. So either the statement of the teacher can be considered as an answer to the question, or it can be looked upon also as replying the doubt raised by the one thing is question, other is a doubt. So we can interpret the statement of student in both ways, and we can interpret answer also either as answering question or resolving the doubt, both ways. So first, explaining that passage as uttara, the reply to the student. Satyam nasti aparadha kintu avidya matrastu aparadha iti prageva avocham. This is just to wrap up everything. It all said, all these extended discussion, and you may have forgotten or you may have lost the track of the thing, where we started and where we had a long convoluted journey. You forget certain things, so just to wrap up everything. So if you look at the page 7 here, Satyam Nasti aparadha. There is no aparadha. So why did I get deluded? What did I do to get deluded when my nature is changed as consciousness and all changes happen in the mind? I merely illumine them. Then what happened in me? What happened to me that I took all those modifications as myself? What is my aparadha? Where did I go wrong? Nasti aparadha. You did not go wrong anywhere. See, you can say I went wrong provided I did something deliberately. So if I deliberately decided to take myself as karta bhokta, then it can be my aparadha. What has happened? I found myself looking upon myself as karta bhokta, therefore nasti aparadha. There is no fault on your part. Kintu avidya matrastu aparadha iti. Ignorance is aparadha. Ignorance alone is the cause of all of this. Which made you do this? Aparadha is, it would have been your fault if you had done deliberately, but no, it is ignorance because of which you were made to do this. I'm impelled, I don't know. I'm Chaitanya, therefore Swartha, indifferent, and still I find myself dependent, controlled by something you said earlier. So look at the page 53, or not 50, in your book anyway, I'll tell you where it is. So passage 48, Guru Ruvacha, avidya nimittam vidya tasya nivartika. You stated very clearly. The reason for all of this was, delusion was avidya. Kim nimittam, kim tasya nivartakam, etc. So vidya tasya nivartika. Ignorance is the reason for all these delusions and the problems, and vidya or knowledge is what dispels that. Avidyayam nivrittayam tad nimitta bhavat mokshase. When avidya or ignorance, which is the cause of delusion, when that is dispelled by knowledge, then all the samsara that arose because of delusion also will go. Shishyo vaja kasa avidya kim vishayava vidya chaka avidya nivartika yaya svabhavam pratipadyayati. Disciple had asked this. Kasa avidya, what's the nature of ignorance? Kim vishayava, ignorance pertaining to what? Ignorance pertaining to self, how can it be? And also, where is avidya located? So what is the ashraya of the avidya? What's the vishaya of avidya? That is avidya. Vidya chaka avidya niv. And then the knowledge which you say dispels ignorance. What is the nature of that knowledge? Yes, svabhavam pratipadyaya. What is that knowledge which dispels ignorance and the delusion because of which I recognize my true nature? What's the nature of that knowledge? So gutvam paramatmanam santam. You are in fact Paramatma, asamsarinam. You are a samsari, beyond samsara. Samsari aham asmiti viparitam pratipadyase. All of this is called viparita jnanam. That I am a samsari, meaning I am a karta, bhokta. Even though you are a karta, you take yourself to be karta or the doer. The viparita jnanam. This is the false notion of false perception. Akartaram santam kartayati. Abhoktaram santam bhoktayati vidyaman iti avyam avidya. So this is ignorance which creates in you totally false notions about yourself. Ignorance creates in you the notion you are the subject, you are what is targeted by ignorance. You are the one that sustains the ignorance and you are targeted by ignorance, which makes you take yourself to be contrary to what you are. That's the nature of ignorance. So all of this was stated in fact. Well, coming back to passage 85. Iti prageva avocham. I already said earlier that it is avidya matrasto aparada. Ignorance is aparada. You are not the one who is responsible for the delusion. It is ignorance which is responsible for Brahma. So, Swabhranti bijam apashyan. How come I did this? If I am kutastha or changeless, how come I took myself to be karta bhokta? You did not. It is ignorance which made you do that. So, teacher said, it is not your aparada that you took yourself to be karta bhokta, etc. The tika says, Katantarhi Shrutaya Iti Shankare. Just see passage 81. So in 80, that Atma is Upalabdha, and Upalabdhi culminates into the elimination of an object which is a Kriya, and so Atma is the locus of that Kriya. Then teacher says, Shunu Upalabdhi Avasa Phalavasana. The role of the Atma is not in illuminating the object. Role of Atma is merely being reflected in the Buddhi, which in turn illumines the object. So, Kimna Shrutam, I always said that, did you not hear? So then here, that is brought, Katham Tari Kimna Shrutam Tvaidi Mamatha. Then why did you say, sir, that you did not hear what I said? That Atma does not itself illumine the objects, that Atma merely gets reflected in the mind, which gets enlivened, which in turn illumines. I explained all this. Yeah, but then why, so, Kim na Shrutam, did you not listen to that? Iti, Mamata. Kintu iti, so, then kintu, the kintu can be the question of the student, Then what? So what is my, so kastu aparadho mama, what is my aparadam, what is my fault? Satyam nasti aparadha, it is true that you are not at fault. Kintu, then what is at fault? See, kintu is the question on the part of the student. Kimtu, then what? Then answer is avidya matrastu aparadha. If it is not my aparadha, then whose aparadha it is? Avidya matrastu aparadha. That avidya is the aparadha. Vidi prageva hocham. I already said this. Therefore I said that, did you not hear? Not paying attention or what? So, says the Tika, Jignaso Prekshavatah Partha Avadhanam Na Agantuka Dosha Nimittakam Sambhavyate Ityavipretya Maya Ukam Parihati. That you are a Jignasu. Jignasu means an aspirant, seeker of knowledge. Prekshavata, and also not only a person is seeker of knowledge, Prekshavata means possessed of the capacity and deliberate. So you are on one hand a Jignasu, desirous of knowledge, and you have the requisite ability of deliberation which is required for knowledge. And say anavadhanam, not paying attention to. Avadhanam, focus or concentration. This thought did not go into his mind. The idea is that the teacher did say all of this, but somehow things did not go into the mind of the student. He did not quite get the idea of what the teacher was trying to convey. So even though you are qualified and still you did not get the idea, it cannot be. So says, Dosamittakam Sambhavyate. It is not the agantuka dosha. It is not something else that made you outwardly, not something other than you. That at that moment you were at that moment you were distracted, and so you did not hear. No, there is something permanent in you because of which you did not understand that. You see, what is it? Avidya matrastu, meaning that ignorance makes you conclude what is wrong. So ignorance has made you conclude that I am a samsari, karta bhokta. This is not an agantuka thing. It is something inherent or something habitual because of ignorance. See, if I get distracted because of something else outside me, and then again I can come back to my concentration, then I can again listen. We are permanently distracted. Why? ignorance has created in you this conviction that I am a samsari. As long as that conviction remains, your mind does not receive. Mind is not open sometimes to understand what you are being told, that you are a samsari. So that whole, the attitude of the mind is not because of you, it is because of what ignorance has done. It has convinced you that I am a samsari. That conviction remains, with that you keep on listening to what teacher says. And therefore, that conviction does not change. Therefore, we interpret things in our own way. You follow? I am quite convinced that I am a samsari. And therefore, that conviction remains. And then I listen, and so that conviction, so then I interpret things in my own way. Everybody does that naturally. If it becomes clear to me that my conviction is wrong, then only I can become free. Otherwise, in spite of being told, I interpret things in my own way. As Bhashyakara says in the Gita, that again, why does Lord Krishna keeps on saying Atma Karta Bhokta? How many times? Because he hears and then again goes back. The same rut, because that if influence of ignorance is so strong, even though momentarily you see what the teacher says, again you go back. So, na agantuka dosha nimittakam, you are permanently deluded because of ignorance. And therefore, whatever you hear, we will interpret in that way. Therefore, the original conviction that I am a samsari does not go. That is not your fault. It is ignorance that does that to you. Idavi parityamaya uktam. What is it? Avidya matrastu aparadha. That you are ignorant, that is your aparadha. That is again not an aparadha anyway. So if this is, the teacher is answering the question of the student. If teacher is answering the doubt of the student, then Tika says, Yadva akshepam pariharte satyamide. So, kastu aparadha mama? What is my aparadha? I don't have any aparadha. Earlier, what is my aparadha? Then teacher says, it's not aparadha, avidya. It's not my aparadha. Questioning. So, the teacher can be resolving or answering this questioning on the part of the student. Kastu aparadha satyam nasti aparadha. What is my fault? You're right. It's not your fault. What is my fault? What is my fault? Both ways you can ask. What is my fault is a question. What's my fault is what? I don't have a fault. Then why am I saying that I have a fault? So this is the two ways this is being explained here. Let's go kaku. What kind of sound and expressions you have, that will decide what is the meaning of the words. So says, Nasti aparadha tava swa anubhava aprachadakatva. So now Nasti aparadha is interpreted differently. First, it was not your aparadha, it is aparadha of the ignorance. Here, that you raise this question in your mind, what is my fault? So there is no aparadha in you in as much as swanubhava aprachadakatvat. You clearly said what was in your mind. Even when you questioned what I said, you said what was in your mind. That I don't see my aparadha, and what's wrong with me? It's not my aparadha. You're right, that at least you revealed what was in your mind. So there is no aparadha, that you are honest. See, earlier there is no aparadha because there is ignorance is aparadha. Here no aparadha because you are honest, and honestly revealing what is in your mind. Swanubhava aprachadakatvat. You did not hide your anubhava, and you just revealed that. Then Tika says, Katham tarhi tvaya uktam mama anashvaso jayate idi pruchhati kintu iti. Katham tarhi tvaya. So, then you have not hidden your experience. Katham tarhi tvaya uktam. Then teacher says, why did you say Mama anashvaso jayate? Still, I am not convinced about what you are saying, that Atma is Kutastha. So why do you say that? If you are revealing and honest and therefore there is no question, there is no fault on your part, then why did you say that? If you see on the last sentence of the previous passage, 83, Atah Kutastatra tava anashvaso jayate iti. Then why do you not still trust what is being told? Katham dari kutaste mayas, etc. So how can I be changeless? I am the pursuer of all the modifications of mind. So still meaning still the confidence that you are changeless is not arisen. How come the changeless, that confidence is not arisen? So says, Kintu iti. That Kintu can be teacher's question. Earlier, Kintu was the students. Here, Kintu. Then what? Nasti aparadha, because you revealed, then what? So, Anyostu aparadha iti uttaram aha. That is another aparadha. What is it? Not your intention or not anything connected with you. So avidya. So avidya matrastu aparadha. Ignorance alone is aparadha, is what I have already stated. So Tika says, Tadevam yathavat atmanah swarupa anavhasa avidyani bandhana eva samsaritvam adhikritatvam ityadi atadharmavabhasaha न परमार्थ अस्ति इति उपपत्तितः अवगतम् आत्मनः कूटस्थ नित्यत्वम्. Then it is clear to you now that Atma is Kutastha. Anyostu aparadha iti. That is not your fault. Aparadha is something else. What is it? Avidya matrastu aparadha. It is ignorance that's aparadha. Tadevam. What is ignorance? Yathavat atma surupa anavabhasa avidyani bandhana eva samsaritvam. Samsaritvam is, nibandhana means caused by avidya. What is avidya? Swarupa anavabhasa. What is avidya? Where the swarupa, the true nature, does not shine. Esha sarveshu bhuteshu gudotmana prakashate. That Atma does not shine as Brahman. Atma shines as Jiva. So, Swarupa Anubhasa Avidya. Avidya, ignorance, manifests itself in our life as this wrong manifestation of Atma. That Atma is self-effulgent. Atma is Brahma. And Atma should reveal itself as Brahma. Instead, Atma seems to reveal itself as Jiva. So, that is avidya. Avidya nibandhaneva samsaritvam. So, your samsaritvam, meaning your conclusion that I am a karta bhokta, all of this is because of the ignorance. What is ignorance? Which creates this false perception of Atma. Samsaritvam adhikritatvam ityadi atad dharmavabhasa. Samsaritvam belongs to buddhi. Adhikritatvam brahmana kshatriya belongs to buddhi, upadhi. Ityadi, and many other dharmas, upadhis are automatically superimposed upon the Atma. So you conclude that I am an adhikari, I am a samsari, I am so and so. Na paramartha asti. In reality, you are not that. It is ignorance that creates these notions in you. Iti upapattita avagatam atmana. So by this upapatti reasoning, as to what creates in you aparadha. What is my aparadha? Why is there samsara? If Atma is ever changeless and ever a samsari, then why am I there is samsara for me? It is not your fault. It is avidya that creates these false notions. And now you can see with reasoning that all the notions that I am a karta, bhokta, sukhi, dukhi, happy, unhappy, all of these are the notions, in fact, created by avidya, which hides the true nature and presents the nature as contrary to what it is. So now that is clear to you. So now it is clear to you what is happening to you, that I am a samsari. It's very clear how that mechanism is explained, how that arises because of ignorance. So then when samsaritva is proven to be false, product of ignorance is mithya. So if samsaritva is mithya, then atma is satya. So avagamitam atmana kutastha nityatvam. So that way, by reasoning also, the kutastha nityatvam atma is ever changeless, is also established by reason. So upapattitaha. By reasoning also, the kutastha nityatvam, that atma is ever changeless, is established. So this is how what has been taught so far is now wrapped up here, is concluded, summarized in the form of questions and answers. So another is Atmani Swapna Jagareto Upalabdhi Rupa Vikriya Upalabdhe Nakutastha Susthitayati. From different standpoints, the Kutasthata, the changeless of the Atma, is questioned. So now I understand, because of the perceiver being perceiver of all the thoughts, etc., that I am changeless perceiver. But Swapna Jagarita Upalabdhi Rupa Vikriya Upalabdhe. In Swapna of the dream, I am the dreamer. In waking, I am the waker. In the dream, I am the perceiver of the dream world. In the waking, I am the perceiver of the waking world. In deep sleep, I am not the perceiver. So all these vikriyas are going on. Na kutastata susthita. By upapattiya reasoning, I understand that Atma is kutastha. But again, when I get to these experiences of waking and dream and deep sleep, again, my understanding or conviction becomes shaken up. Meaning that we have to account for all the experiences. The point is that it's not enough that we arrive at the kutasthata or changelessness of self from a certain standpoint and understood and convinced. But that Atma is changeless has to be, the conviction should arise in every situation. So we should also analyze other situations to again convince or ascertain that Atma is changeless. Or look at our Tika. Idanim avasthatre sakshidaya avastha adharma sparshittvena. No, avastha dharma asparshitvena punaha kutastatam pradipadaitum akshepam utthapayate yadi bhagavan iti. So upapattita, by reasoning it is established that Atma is nitya kutastha, eternally changeless, or kutastha nitya. Because Maya also is called kutastha. But then kutastha nityatvam is not there, because Maya is subject to change in terms of giving rise to the effect, where Atma is even free from that. Idanim now, avasthatra sakshidaya. So far the kutasthatvam, the changelessness of the Atma, was explained as the perceiver of all the thoughts simultaneously. That was kutastha. Now, avasthatra sakshidaya, the Atma is the witness of all the three states of waking, dream and deep sleep. Therefore also Atma is Kutastha. Because our Atma is a Sakshi, witness of all the three states, therefore, as you said, the witness remains unaffected by the attributes of what is witnessed. Like the light remains unaffected by the form and color of what is illumined. So also Drashta, the perceiver, remains unaffected by what is perceived. So what I perceive the treeness doesn't come to me. It remains there. So once we understand that I am a witness, it is clear that witness is the one who is free from all the attributes of what is witnessed. All the changes taking place in what is witnessed. So that way now, being witness of the three states is how the teacher now presents Atma to show how Atma is changeless. So changeless of the Atma has to be established with reference to all experiences. With reference to some experience that student understood. With other experience he is not clear. So how to apply that understanding now in this situation? So now teacher has to clarify that. Puna kutasthatam pratipadayitum. Again for pratipadayitum, arriving logically, reasonably, how Atma is kutastha. Akshem utthabayati. Again now another doubt is raised by the student, Yadi Bhagavaniti. So next passage says, Yadi Bhagavan Sushupte iva mama vikriya nasti katham swapna jagare. Yadi Bhagavan, Yadi means that Atma or I am Kutastha, Nitya. Sushupteva, it is my experience that in deep sleep state there is no vikriya. So deep sleep state seems to be an experience that confirms that I am changeless because there is no change or modification taking place in me in deep sleep state. Katham tari swapna jagarite. So Tika says, swapna jagarite mama iti sheshaha. Katham tari swapna jagarite mama. If I am changeless, then how come I am awake and how come I am dreaming? How can the changeless consciousness that I am, how can I be awake? How can I be dreaming? Because the waker is changing, the dreamer also is changing, then how can I be changeless consciousness and then also waking and dreaming also? So how do you explain? In short, changelessness is the reference to waking and dreaming. That's the whole idea here. Because that was the whole idea here. The teacher said right in the first that Maya Upadeshat Vibhaga Uchyate. So, Upadesha Vidim Vyakhyāsyāma. We are now going to explain the method of teaching. So therefore, every time the Tikakara's job is this, to bring out the method of teaching on the part of the teacher. How the student asks the question, what is involved in that question? So how the teacher is unfolding. Not only that, but in that process, making the student see. So this is a very, I should say, a little unusual or unique way of unfolding the subject. There is unfolding of Vedanta, no doubt, but in this manner, which makes it very easy for the people to understand. Therefore, how come there is waking for me? How come there is dream for me? If I am changeless as in Sushupti? So for changeless, why should these experiences be there? So Tika says, Tvachaitanya prakashyatvat na tava svabhava bhute te avasthe iti pariharate tam gururaha iti. Tvachaitanya prakashyatvat, understand? So katham swapna jagarite mama. How can there be waking and dream for me if I am the changeless consciousness? The teacher says, Prakashat, they are illumined by you. Tvam Chaitanya Prakashatva. Tvat, you are Chaitanya. Tvat Chaitanya means you who is Chaitanya or consciousness in nature. They are illumined by you. They are illumined by your consciousness, or they are illumined by you, that is consciousness. Not those, therefore you are illumined by. You say, how can there be waking and dream for me? He says, that is not for you. They are illumined by you. Although you say that me, waking is mine, dream is mine. Understand that all that is, what is your relationship with waking dream? That they are illumined by you, who is consciousness. You can call it mind, but you are simply illuminated. Therefore, you are the illuminator of them, therefore that is not your nature. All that is, that waking and dream is that they are illuminated by you, who is consciousness. So therefore, they cannot be nature of illuminator. So the relationship you have with the waking and dream is that you are the illuminator, consciousness that is illuminator, and the illumined, and therefore, what is illumined cannot be the nature of illuminator. As we say, the colors and form that illumined by the light are not the nature of light. Idi parihari. So this is how the teacher is explaining. That even when you say, how come that is waking for me and dream for me, it is not for you, you conclude that it is for you, you happen to be only illuminated of those things. So Guru Raha, Tam Guru Raha Kintu Anubhuyate Tvaya Santadam. Alright? So how come there is waking and dream for me? So teacher says, when you say how come there is waking and dream, Anubhuyate Tvaya Santadam. Is it not that you are constantly experiencing them? Tvaya Santatam Anubhuyat. It is not that you are constantly experiencing the waking and dream. So they are the object of your experience. How do they become yours? So don't you make a note that you are the experiencer of the waking and dream? Not only Santatam, you are a constant experiencer again. The waking may come and go, the dream may come and go, something else may come and go, but you are always awake. You are not a waker. Waker is the fellow who sleeps, who wakes up from sleep. That is called waker. I awoke. When do you say I awoke? When I was not awake. And then I get awake. When I'm a dreamer, then I was not dreaming at some time, now I'm dreaming. When I'm sleeper, I was not sleeping at some time, now I am sleeping, you follow? So Santatam Anubhuyate. You are constantly experiencing them. Meaning that you remain constant even when those things come and go. Is it not so? So Tika says, Santatam iti yadate bhavatah tada na anubhuyamane bhavatah ityartah. Yadate bhavate means those two. Which are the two? The waking and dream. When they happen, tada na, I think it should be ananubhuyamane bhavata. Meaning that they are never not experienced by you. Whenever waking happens, dream happens, etc., it cannot be that they are not experienced by you. They are always experienced by you. So, anubhuyate tvaya santatam. They are constantly experienced by you, meaning what? They are never not experienced by you. They are always experienced by you, meaning that they are never non-experienced by you. So, whenever they happen, it cannot be that you don't experience them. So, waking, it is possible that if waking happens and my attention is elsewhere, I am doing something, meaning that I have my own something to do, then it is possible that I may not make note of that. But here, whenever they happen, they are always experienced by you. So you are an eternal experiencer, and those fellows come and go. So there is being explained. Then Tika Anubhuyamanatvam Angikritya Santata Anubhava Shabdartham Ajananah Shishyaha Bharamire. Anubhuyamanatvam is the disciple accepts that yes, I do experience. It is never that I do not experience waking in dreams. Anubhuyamanatvam. That these two are always experienced by me, the disciple accepts. But teacher says, Santatam anubhuyate. You are constantly experiencing them. That constant aspect is not clear to the disciple. Santata anubhava shabdartham ajananah. That you are constantly experiencing, that constantly is not clear. That I am not a constant experiencer of waking. So that word constant, you are a constant experiencer of waking, dream, etc. is not, that constantness of the experience is not clear. So Shishya says, Shishya vacha badham anubhavami kintu vichidya natu santatam. Badham is to anubhavami. Kintu anubhuyate tvaya. Is it not that you are experiencing them all the time? He says, I am experiencing all, but not all the time. So teacher said, you are asking, how come my dream and waking is there if I am changeless? Then teacher says, is it not that you constantly experience a waking and dream? So students, I do experience, but not constantly. Badham anubhavami. I do experience waking and dream, but not constantly. Vichidya, meaning whenever waking happens, I experience waking. Whenever dream happens, I experience dream. Meaning that I become experiencer when those fellows are there. In deep sleep, I am not an experiencer. In waking, I am an experiencer of waking. In dream, I am an experiencer of dream. And therefore, I am vichidya. It is only, not constantly, but then vicheda is there, change is there, then therefore from time to time I experience them, not constantly. So taking yourself an experiencer, you will say that I experience them from time to time. But if you are experienced, then there is no question of time to time. What the teacher wants to say that, hey, you are experience, consciousness. And therefore, whatever comes and goes, you are always experiencer. You are nitya experiencer. You follow? So, anubhavita. Now, anubhava comes here. Upalabdhi came earlier, perception. Now, anubhava comes. So, who are you? Nitya upalabdha was established. Now, nitya anubhavita. That you are nitya, you are an eternal experiencer. It is not that you experience the waking and dream when they come and go. You are experience. And in experience they come and go and they are illumined. Like the light in the theatre, it shines. If things happen on the stage, they are all illumined. Then nothing happens, and absence of them illumined. So presence and absence of illumined doesn't establish presence and absence of illuminator. So very clear, the teacher says something very profound. Understand that you are constantly experiencing. Whatever they come, yadate bhavata, whenever they come, it cannot be that you don't experience them. And therefore, padham, I experience them all right, is not understood. He thinks that I am the experiencer of waking and dream. No, I don't experience waking and dream constantly. I experience them only from time to time. So teacher, do you experience waking? Dream? Do you experience them? Are you experiencer of waking dream? Then it is time to time. Meaning that you become experiencer of waking or become waker when the waking is there. And then when the dream comes, you become experiencer of dream, then you become a dreamer. In that case, the experiencer also undergoes a change corresponding to what is experienced. But then, the teacher wants to say, are you a changing experiencer? Or you're constantly experiencing? He did not have what is constant. I'm not constantly experiencing, I experience as they come and go. I'm not a constant experiencer of waking and dreaming. Then, tam guru raha agantuke tveva ite tvete ite. Then Guru says that vichedya anubhavami. I experience them, as they come and go. From time to time, natu santanam. I don't constantly experience them. Alright? Agantuke tuetaiti. In that case, it's very clear that they are agantuka. Who is agantuka here? Agantuka means subject to coming, incidental. So he thinks that I am agantuka, the waking comes and I am a waker, and dream comes and I am a dreamer. So I am a changing experiencer. Means the waker has come and gone, dreamer has come and gone. The teacher says what is coming and going is waking comes and goes. There is no waker. Dream comes and goes. There is no dreamer. You are not waker when waking comes and goes. You are what? The illuminator of waking. You are not dreamer when the dream happens. You are the illuminator of dreaming. So that's why I say that you are constantly experiencing, if you want to say that, constant experience illumination. The theatre lamp illumines. You can call it experiencer of the dance and experience, all that kind of stuff you can say. Or you can even call illuminator if he change undergoes a corresponding change. It just shines in its own light. So also Atma shines in his own consciousness. These fellows get illuminated when they come and go. He doesn't even know. The sun shines and the world gets illuminated. Oh, but now there is night and that is all due to some other factor. If I am light by nature, then how come there is night? The sun may ask. Just because even when there is night, you don't cease to be light in principle. The day and night are not due to you, they are due to Upadhi called earth, which turns around you, and therefore on earth there is day and night. That not because of change in you, is change taking place elsewhere. See how we conclude, the sun may conclude that, there is day and night, and then you say that I am of the nature of unchanging light. If I am changed as light, then how come there is darkness? How come there is night and day? So, you are the illuminator of night, and everything that there is illuminated by you. That night and dayness is not because of you, it's because of Upadhi. And so waking, dream, etc. is not because of Upadhi. That comes and goes, and you are the illuminator nevertheless. So that's now a teacher wants to point how you are Nitya Anubhavita. Earlier, Nitya Upalabdha, now Nitya Anubhavita. We'll continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeri Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.